In the spring of 1846, the bustling town of Corpus Christi, Texas found itself caught in the currents of a swiftly changing frontier. This growing settlement perched on the Gulf of Mexico was a melting pot of cultures and commerce, with Anglo settlers Tejanos and a few Native Americans mingling. In its dusty streets, merchants bartered goods, blacksmiths hammered away at iron, and townsfolk engaged in animated conversations about everything from the Mexican-American War brewing on the horizon to the ever-looming threat of Comanche raids. Amidst this activity, a solitary figure sat in the lobby of one of the town's modest hotels. His demeanor was calm, almost indifferent, as he read a hand-written note with the same mild interest one might reserve for a Monday headline in a local gazette. Yet the note bore tidings far graver than its recipient's nonchalant expression suggested. The Comanche, the dominant power of the southern plains, had launched another series of devastating raids. This was not uncommon. The Comanche, known as the Lords of the Plains, had long held a fearsome reputation. Their mastery of horse-mounted warfare was unparalleled, their skill with bow and lance rivaling that of the legendary Mongol hordes of centuries past. For decades, they had resisted incursions into their territory, whether from Spanish colonists, Mexican settlers, or the newly arrived Anglo-Americans. Now reports of their violent foray southwest of San Antonio had reached the ears of Captain John Coffee Hayes, better known as Jack Hayes, the indomitable leader of the Texas Rangers. A man of reputation and resolve, Captain Jack Hayes was not a man to be underestimated. Though he stood of average height and build, his presence carried a weight that belied his physical stature. Known for his high-pitched Tennessean accent and impeccable manners, Hayes was anything but ordinary. He had earned his place as a legendary figure among the Texas Rangers, a group of rugged frontiersmen tasked with defending the volatile borderlands of Texas. Under Hayes's leadership, the Rangers had transformed from a loosely organized militia into a disciplined force, capable of taking on even the most formidable foes. Hayes himself was renowned for his tactical brilliance and unflinching courage. His reputation had spread far and wide, reaching even the ears of the Comanche, who reportedly placed a high bounty on his scalp. Despite his calm demeanor, Hayes was acutely aware of the danger posed by the note he now folded neatly into his pocket. The message detailed that a group of 600 Comanche warriors had been raiding settlements, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Time was of the essence. Hayes wasted no time in gathering his 40 Rangers stationed in Corpus Christi, their mission to intercept the raiding party before it could retreat into the vast, open plains where pursuit would be futile. The chase begins from Medina River to Bandera Pass. The journey began westward toward the Medina River, a vital artery of life in the rugged terrain of Texas. Hayes's party relied heavily on their native scouts, whose knowledge of the land and ability to track even the faintest signs of movement were indispensable. These scouts, often overlooked in historical accounts, were crucial allies in the Rangers' campaigns. Their expertise in reading tracks, understanding wildlife behavior, and interpreting subtle environmental changes gave Hayes's men a fighting chance against their elusive adversaries. From the Medina River, the Rangers pushed northward toward Bandera, past a natural corridor through the limestone hills. West of San Antonio, the region was both beautiful and treacherous, with rolling hills, dense thickets, and rocky outcrops providing ample cover for ambushes. Along the way, the party passed Enchanted Rock, a massive pink granite dome that loomed over the landscape like a sentinel. To the Comanche, this held spiritual significance, a place steeped in legend and mystery. Hayes's scouts confirmed that the Comanche raiding party was heading toward a small lake at the base of Paint Rock, another site imbued with cultural and historical importance. This watering hole, a crucial resource in the arid region, was a favored resting spot for raiding parties. Hayes knew that catching the Comanche here was their best chance to engage them before they could scatter. The grueling pursuit, a race against time. The Rangers pressed on, pushing their horses and their own endurance to the limit. Hayes drove the men well past midnight, allowing only brief rests to keep the pursuit alive. The terrain was unforgiving, a mosaic of jagged limestone, thorny underbrush, and dry creek beds. The riders battled exhaustion and discomfort, their stiff bodies aching from long hours in the saddle. Yet the urgency of their mission spurred them onward. At dawn, the Rangers resumed their relentless march. As the sun climbed higher, the landscape began to change, the rolling hills giving way to the distinctive formations of paint rock, named for the ancient pictographs etched onto its cliffs by earlier indigenous peoples. These drawings told stories of hunts, battles, and ceremonies, a silent testament to the rich history of the region. Finally, in the early evening, Hayes's party arrived at the watering hole. To their relief, they found no sign of the Comanche. The Rangers quickly took up positions in a thicket of willow trees near the northern end of the pond. The dense underbrush provided excellent cover, allowing them to prepare for an ambush, the calm before the storm. As night fell, the men settled into their positions, with sentries posted to keep watch. Hayes, ever the meticulous leader, instructed his men to get as much rest as possible. Sleep, however, was a luxury few could afford. The oppressive silence of the night was broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant cry of a coyote. Every shadow seemed to hold the promise of danger, every sound a potential herald of the enemy's approach. Dawn broke slowly, the first rays of sunlight casting long shadows across the pond. The air was thick with humidity, a low fog clinging to the ground. Then, as the sun rose higher, the Rangers spotted movement on the horizon. The Comanche warriors, herding their stolen horses, were approaching the ambush. A deadly volley, Hayes ordered his men to hold their fire until his command. The tension was palpable as the Comanche drew closer, their silhouettes emerging from the morning mist. Finally, Hayes's high-pitched voice rang out fire. The Rangers unleashed a deadly volley from their single-shot rifles. The element of surprise worked in their favor, but the fog obscured their aim, and many shots missed their mark. Still, several Comanche warriors fell, their lifeless bodies tumbling from their horses. The Comanche, cut off guard, retreated to a safe distance, regrouping beyond rifle range. As the morning fog lifted, the battlefield came into clearer view. The Comanche, realizing the Rangers' numbers were far smaller than their own, began to organize for a counterattack. A test of will, the Comanche assaults. What followed was a brutal and protracted engagement. The Comanche, masters of mobile warfare, launched a series of charges against the Rangers. Their tactics were ingenious. A swirling cyclone formation, with warriors riding in tight circles, firing arrows as they passed. This strategy made them difficult targets, forcing the Rangers to conserve their limited ammunition. The Rangers, armed with single-shot rifles and early revolvers, like the Patterson Colt, faced a dire challenge. Each shot had to count, and reloading was a laborious process. Hayes reminded his men of this constantly, urging them to aim carefully. The Comanche warriors, armed with a mix of traditional weapons and firearms, acquired through trade and raids, were relentless, their bows short and stout, could fire arrows with remarkable accuracy and force. Their lances, designed for hunting buffalo, were equally effective against human foes. Their shields, often made of thick buffalo hide, could deflect bullets under the right conditions. Despite their ferocity, the Rangers held their ground. Each Comanche charge was met with a devastating volley of gunfire, forcing the attackers to retreat and regroup. The battle raged on through the afternoon, the air thick with smoke and the cries of men and horses. Nightfall, a grim stalemate. As darkness fell, the Comanche withdrew to a nearby ridge, setting up camp within sight of the Rangers. Hayes, anticipating another attack, ordered his men to remain vigilant. Sentries kept watch through the night, while the rest of the party tried to snatch what little rest they could. The proximity to the lake gave the Rangers a crucial advantage, allowing them to replenish their water supply. The Comanche, meanwhile, were forced to travel miles to find water. Throughout the night, sporadic gunfire erupted as Comanche warriors attempted to retrieve the bodies of their fallen comrades. These attempts were met with deadly precision by the Rangers, further demoralizing the attackers. The second day, relentless assaults. The battle resumed at sunrise, with the Comanche launching wave after wave of attacks. Their strategy evolved, with smaller groups attacking from multiple directions to divide the Rangers' attention. Despite their numerical superiority, the Comanche could not break the Rangers' defensive position. The thicket, though modest in size, proved an effective fortress. As the day wore on, the Comanche's losses mounted. The ground around the thicket was littered with bodies, both human and equine. The smell of blood and gunpowder filled the air, a grim reminder of the battle's toll. The final charge, a decisive blow. On the third day, the Comanche made one last desperate charge. Their leader, a formidable figure in a buffalo headdress, rallied his warriors for a final assault. Hayes, ever the sharpshooter, took careful aim at the chief. As the distance closed, Hayes fired, striking the chief and ending his life. The loss of their leader shattered the Comanches' resolve, and they retreated, leaving the battlefield to the victorious Rangers. The Battle of Bandera Pass was a significant moment in the history of the Texas frontier. Though the Rangers suffered minimal casualties, the psychological toll was immense. The Comanche, while defeated, would continue their resistance for years to come. For Captain Jack Hayes, this battle marked the end of his engagement with the Comanche in Texas, but his legend would only grow in the years that followed.